Let me say a little bit about June of '63, which is an unbelievable month. I got two stories in June I want to share with you. One story is two speeches that Kennedy gave, sort of like bookends. On June 10th, he gave a peace speech at American University. He became the first president to talk about the Soviet Union in human ways. We were in the midst of a Cold War, either you're with us or against us, communists or us, free, but he talked about them in human ways. And he could do that because he still was coming off the heels of having the perception of having stared down Khrushchev during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So he had that sort of that bona fide, well, he could do that and not pay a price. And so he gives this peace speech. In fact, Khrushchev says the greatest speech any American president gave in the 20th century. And but the speech was sort of like Lincoln's Gettysburg Address in that no one really paid that much attention to it. But when I talked to Ted Sorensen, it was Sorensen wrote it, but it was his favorite speech. Well, he did write it. I wasn't talking about profiles in courage. He wrote the speech, okay? And then in that speech, Kennedy called for a nuclear test ban treaty. The first attempt to at least slow down a little bit the arms race, so we not have atmospheric testing, you know. So let's start this. He called for that. But then he goes to Berlin. And you know, he gives the Ich bin ein Berliner speech, and that was red meat. I mean, that was, whatever the peace speech was, the Ich bin ein Berliner speech was the opposite. And I know a lot of people say, well, he said he's a jelly donut, you know. But what's important to remember here is that you had, I think, three quarters of West Berliners out to hear Kennedy speak. Kennedy came to the podium, and Konrad Adenauer, who was chancellor at the time, got nervous because the exuberant chants of Kennedy. He turned to Secretary of State Dean Rusk and goes, does this mean we could have another Hitler? I mean, it was pandemonium. And the thing to remember about that speech, and I've said this several times, I've said in the book, the people of West Berlin heard Kennedy not with their ears, but with their heart. So however mangled the German was, it was fluent on that day.